Okay, so I have just gone in here and added some additional things, some materials. You can see the lava. I added some concrete to the stepping stones, created this giant volcano. And so I rendered it out so you could see. Oh, and I also added some legs and arms to the cylinder, so it's not just a cylinder. And what we're going to do is, now that we have our scene set up, one of the things we need to do is talk about the lighting within the scene. Now, I rendered this out, and this is just kind of the basic default lighting. As we had talked about under environment, it is the global lighting that you see here. This is what's lighting my scene at the moment. However, there's some problems with it. And one of those problems is that we don't have any shadows. Also, the lights help the materials look a little bit more realistic. So we're going to talk about lighting. So let's come over here, and you will see that on your Create tab, Geometry, Shapes, and then Lights. And if you click on Lights, the default is in photometric. Don't use photometric lights. If you use the photometric lights, it's going to change your light exposure, and then it's going to do strange things. Okay? Pull this down and go to the standard lighting. All right. So in standard lighting, you have different types of lights. You have target lights, you have omni lights, you have free lights, you have skylight. A target light, and let's start with omni. An omni, and I'm just going to come in my scene here. And I'm going to put in an omni light. And then you see it's floating down there in the lava, so I got to go in this view and get it out of the lava. Okay. So I've now got that light positioned right near my character. And because it's not doing much, can't see much, let me get it closer. Okay, now let me render it out. Okay, so can you see what happened? Everything in the scene is now being lit by the overall global lighting, but also by that little tiny light right here. And what it does, it acts like the sun. You know how the sun radiates out from the middle? And that's what it's doing. So essentially, this is the center of the light, and then the light rays are shining out from where that light is. And it's hitting everything so that you can see where the light is hitting on the pillars. You can see where it's hitting on the guy. Oops, I'm just going to zoom in a little bit here. There we go. Let me render that out. Oh. Okay, and you can see that that light is emulating right here and shining out in all different directions. And if I move it, I'm going to move it closer to the lava down there. It changes, now you see it's uplighting, changes how it lights everything. Okay, that is an omni light, and it acts very similar to a light bulb. Okay, I'm going to run it out again so you can see that's the difference. See how it just goes back to flat? Whereas before we started to have some three-dimension happening with our lights. We also have these target spotlights, and I'm going to put one in here. And it's down in the ground, so I have to pick it up off of the ground. Okay, and so when I render with that light, you can see it's a spotlight, just like it says, spot. Targeted spotlight is what that means. This is the target, and this is the spotlight. And when you render with it, it only illuminates that spotlighted area. The free spot is just a light without a target. And then instead of skylight, we're actually going to use come over to our systems and use sunlight. Okay, so the two main ones we're going to use are the Omni and the target spot. I'm just going to delete this. We're going to talk about the settings in a minute. Let's zoom out here. Okay. If we come back to our systems, sunlight, and we're going to put in the rosette compass and put the sunlight up in the sky and then render this out. How cool is that? That is the sunlight system, and it works a little differently. Let's see, where is it? To modify it, though, you have to go to the motion tab. Now, normally when we modify things, we go to the edit tab. For this, you go to the motion tab. Okay, so right now the sunlight on this is pointing straight down, and it's causing our lava to kind of glow. If I change the location, see how the sun is shifting in the sky? Whoops. Now let me render this out. You see it changes the time of day. That's early morning light, as opposed to what we did before, which was high noon. But you can see the difference that we now have shadows. And this, our little character looks more three-dimensional. And our lava looks much more three-dimensional. And we didn't model any of this. We just added a modifier and some material. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my, whoops, sun. You can change the time of the day. You can change the day of the year. You can, see where it says get location? You can change your location to anywhere in the world. And so that would be (2:00 in the afternoon). Is that right? Oops. Let me click it. There we go. So that would be, 2:00 in the afternoon on the first day of summer in Atlanta. That's what the light would look like. And it's a very nice, overall, easy to use way to light your scenes. And most of the time you can start with that and then add omnis and target lights to your scene to fill in. When we work with light, we don't necessarily work with it the same way that we put lights in a house or any situation or any setting. We work with lights in the way that we need to paint light. And it may very well be that we are going to put an omni in front of our character and link it to him so that no matter where he goes, we're always going to see his face. He doesn't have a face, but we're always going to see his front. Or we're always going to see him. He's always going to be lit up in some way. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to start with this system, and I'm going to go back to where I think we like it there. Yeah, I think the lava really glows right there. Okay, so we'll leave that overall light there, and then we'll come in and set up some additional lights in this scene so that we can, I'm going to save it, so that we can start to work with lighting this up, painting with light. Okay, we'll continue in the next video.